You're listening to the Power Agent Blogcast, empowering agents to elevate their business to the next level.
Challenges are just a guide, leading you, don't run and hide. You've got the heart, you've got the drive, feel it pound, you're alive. Power Agent.
Imagine you're sitting at a table in a really high-end Michelin star restaurant.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you are looking down at this menu, and it's featuring dozens of these incredibly complex, just mind-blowing dishes.
Right, the ones with all the crazy ingredients you can't even pronounce.
Exactly. And each one is paired with these rich, really intricate sauces. Now, what if I told you that every single one of those sauces, no matter how exotic or, no matter how fancy the restaurant is actually built from just 5 basic recipes?
Just 5. Wow.
Yeah, just 5. A really prominent real estate coach named Darryl had this exact realization over dinner with his wife, and she happens to be a trained pastry chef.
Oh, so she would definitely know.
Right. So she explained to him that in the culinary world, these 5 foundational recipes are actually known as the mother sauces.
The mother sauces. I love that term.
Yeah, and the whole point is, without mastering those 5 first, no chef can truly create anything of lasting value. Like, you just can't do it.
It completely shatters how we look at career success. I mean, we are constantly conditioned by our culture to believe that mastering a profession means endless addition.
Yeah, totally. Like, you always need more.
Right. We think we need to acquire the newest app or, integrate the latest AI tool or just jump onto whatever shiny new social media platform just launched yesterday.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's exhausting.
It is. But Darryl's dinner conversation points to a totally different reality. Breathtaking complexity is almost always built on a remarkably small set of core fundamentals.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because that culinary idea, it sparked a massive realization. Once you start looking for this pattern of mother sauces, you see it absolutely everywhere. It's not just in a kitchen.
No, not at all. What's fascinating here is you see it across almost every discipline of human achievement. I mean, think about the infinite universe of music.
Okay.
Every song you have ever heard, from a Beethoven symphony to a Beatles track, right up to the latest pop hit, it's all constructed from just 12 notes.
12 notes? That's wild when you actually stop to think about it.
Right. And the entire English language, all of Shakespeare, every scientific journal, every single book you have ever read, it all comes down to just 26 letters.
Yeah, and taking it to tech, every app, every website, literally the entire digital infrastructure running the modern world.
Zeros and ones.
Exactly. Just 2 digits, zeros and ones.
We can go even deeper than that, actually. Physics relies on just 4 fundamental forces to govern everything in the known universe.
Wow.
And every color your eye can perceive, that's born from just 3 primary colors.
3 colors.
And human beings, right? All of our immense complexity, all our physical differences, all those biological intricacies, they are encoded by just 23 pairs of chromosomes.
That is just, it's heavy.
It is. So if we apply this universal law of mastery to professional success, it forces a really hard pivot in how we think.
Which brings us to the core mission of this deep dive today. We are taking a custom-tailored journey just for you, the learner, because we really want to cut straight through that paralyzing noise of information overload.
The noise is so loud right now.
It really is. And we want to free you from the pressure of constantly chasing trends. So we are going to uncover the mother sauces of real estate mastery, specifically the 10 foundational skills that have formed the backbone of Darryl's coaching program for decades.
And just to be clear right up front, those fancy new AI tools and viral marketing hacks, those are just the seasonings.
Just seasonings. I love that.
Right. You don't reach for the seasonings until you know how to make the sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
And, well, before a chef can even think about turning on the stove, they need a clean kitchen. They need the right infrastructure.
Makes sense.
In the professional world, before a single client is called or, a single door is knocked on, you have to manage yourself. And this begins with the very first foundational skill, which is attitude.
Attitude. Okay.
And we aren't talking about forced positivity here. Attitude is defined by a specific triad belief in the market, belief in your own value, and belief in yourself.
Wait, I have to push back here a little bit on behalf of anyone listening, because attitude sounds like, one of those motivational posters you see in a corporate break room with an eagle soaring over a mountain or something.
Right. Hang in there.
Yeah. Is attitude actually a measurable core competency? I mean, it sounds way more like a mood than an actual skill.
I totally get why it sounds that way, but it is a critical skill precisely because of the mechanical outcome it produces. Let's look at the psychology of action for a second.
Okay, lay it on me.
Before any outward movement occurs, like before you pick up the phone to prospect or step into a listing presentation, your internal mindset is already dictating the result.
Oh, interesting.
The professionals who sustain long careers, the ones who survive brutal market crashes and massive interest rate hikes, they don't just survive because they work harder.
Right.
They survive because they show up with an unwavering belief in their value.
I see. Because if you lack that belief, you hesitate.
Exactly. And hesitation is the absolute killer of momentum. If you don't fundamentally believe that buying or selling a home right now is a good idea, or you don't believe you are the best person to guide a client through it, your voice betrays you.
Oh, they can hear it.
They can absolutely hear it. You procrastinate. You don't make the call. Attitude is the psychological engine that prevents hesitation when the market gets tough. It's literally a prerequisite for action.
That makes perfect sense when you frame it like that. Attitude builds the engine, but you still need to steer the car, right?
Yes.
Which leads us directly into the second foundation, which is time management. Great professionals don't just throw hours at a problem. They work with ruthless intention.
Ruthless is the perfect word for it.
Yeah. Your calendar is either working for you or it is actively working against you.
Managing your schedule requires actively protecting your highest value activities from just the constant barrage of lower value demands.
The constant emails, the texts, all of it.
All of it. Building repeatable automated systems for the mundane tasks is part of it. But the true masterstroke of time management is identifying and eliminating the distractions that disguise themselves as work.
Oh, the things that feel productive, like spending 3 hours picking out the perfect font for a monthly newsletter.
Yes. The font trap.
Or endlessly scrolling through industry news under the guise of, like, market research. Those are complete traps.
They really are.
If you're listening to this and looking at your calendar right now, ask yourself, how many of those colored blocks are actually moving the needle and how many are just comfortable busy work? I mean, treating time like it's the one ingredient in the kitchen you can never, ever order more of.
That is exactly it. Time is completely finite. If you waste a Tuesday morning reorganizing your desk instead of generating business, that morning is gone forever. You can't get a refund on it.
Right. Tuesday's gone.
Mastering the calendar means having the discipline to do the uncomfortable, high-yield tasks first before the day gets hijacked by other people's emergencies.
Okay, so let's talk about those uncomfortable, high-yield tasks. Our internal kitchen is clean, our mindset is right, and our calendar is locked. Now, how do we actually gather our ingredients?
We have to go get them.
Yeah, we have to proactively bring people into our ecosystem. This is where we move into the pipeline building phase, starting with the third skill, prospecting.
And prospecting is the engine of consistent, intentional outreach. It is picking up the phone, knocking on the door, reaching out to your sphere of influence day after day, week after week.
Which nobody wants to do.
Right. It is decidedly unglamorous, but it relies on the mechanism of compounding effort.
It's the difference between waiting for the weather to change and, like, generating your own weather.
I like that.
Because if you just sit around hoping the phone will ring just because you put up a really nice website, you're going to starve. Proactive prospecting gives you control over your own pipeline.
And that controls everything, right? It separates the anxious professional from the confident one. But prospecting isn't the only way to fill the pipeline. There is another foundational skill that works right in tandem with it. It's known in the industry as farming.
Okay, let's pause and define that for anyone outside the real estate world.
Yeah.
Because when we say farming, we obviously don't mean planting actual crops.
No tractors involved.
Right, no tractors. Walk me through how this works in practice. So I'm not just picturing someone relying entirely on buying, like, expensive online leads.
Right. So farming means selecting a specific geographic neighborhood or a specific demographic group and intentionally planting seeds of value over a long period.
Like what kind of seeds?
Well, you send hyper-local market updates, you sponsor the local Little League team, you host community events, you consistently position yourself as the ultimate authority for that specific subset of people.
So it's essentially the compound interest approach to lead generation as opposed to the day trading approach of just buying internet leads.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the reason farming is a master skill is that it builds deep, lasting community trust.
Which takes time.
It takes a lot of time. But when you build authentic name recognition and trust over years of consistent farming, your business becomes immune to outside shocks.
Oh, that's huge.
It really is. You create a steady pipeline of leads that does not depend on any single platform. You aren't at the mercy of some tech giant changing its code or an ad platform doubling its prices overnight. Your business becomes entirely algorithm-proof.
Algorithm-proof. I mean, that has to be a huge relief for anyone exhausted by trying to game the latest social media feed.
It's total freedom.
But there's a hurdle here. To farm effectively and to prospect effectively, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And that brings us to the skill of self-promotion.
Yes, the dreaded self-promotion.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting, because of the way we usually think about self-promotion is just completely backward.
Oh, entirely. Most people dread it. They feel like it's sleazy or arrogant or just completely ego-driven.
Yeah, look at me, look at me.
Right. But consider the alternative. You could be the most highly skilled, deeply empathetic, brilliantly strategic agent in your entire market.
Yep.
You could be perfectly equipped to save a family from making a devastating financial mistake. But if you are the best-kept secret in town, your skills are utterly useless to the community.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is the perspective shift that changes everything.
It really does.
Because effective self-promotion isn't about feeding your ego. It is a moral responsibility. If you genuinely believe you provide superior service that protects people during, let's be honest, one of the most stressful transactions of their entire lives,
Highly stressful.
then you have an obligation to make sure they know you exist. If you don't promote yourself, you're letting them fall into the hands of someone who might not care nearly as much as you do.
Exactly. And when you reframe marketing as a public service announcement rather than a vanity project, the emotional weight of self-promotion just disappears. You stop worrying about looking pushy and you start focusing on offering a lifeline.
So we've filled the pipeline, the ingredients are prepped, the community knows who we are. Now comes the crucible.
The heat of the kitchen.
Yes. The moment of truth where you are finally face-to-face with a client. And the highest stakes environment for all of this is the listing appointment.
The listing appointment is the ultimate convergence of everything we've discussed so far. You are sitting at a kitchen table with a family.
Right.
And in the span of just an hour, you have to demonstrate your market knowledge, showcase your marketing plan, communicate your value, and establish a profound human connection.
It's really the pivot point of the entire profession. Like, if you master what happens in that room, your business scales incredibly fast.
Oh, absolutely.
But let's be real. Even the perfect presentation doesn't guarantee a yes. The client is almost always going to push back.
Of course they are.
They want a higher price for their house. They want a lower commission. They want to wait until spring. How an agent handles that friction is what separates the pros from the amateurs. And that is the skill of objection handling.
Right. And the amateur views an objection as a personal rejection or, a brick wall.
They take it personally.
They do. They get defensive. They try to argue the client into submission using logic alone. But the master understands that an objection is usually just fear disguising itself as a question.
I love thinking of objection handling as a conversational martial art, because you shouldn't try to just punch through the brick wall. Instead, you use the mechanics of an empathy pivot.
An empathy pivot, yes.
You absorb the client's energy, you validate their fear so they genuinely feel heard, and then you gently redirect that momentum toward a logical solution. You aren't fighting them, you are guiding them.
That psychological mechanism, validating the emotion before addressing the logic, is the absolute secret to moving past a no. And you use that exact same mechanism in the next crucial face-to-face skill, which is negotiating.
Because the objections don't just stop at the listing table.
No, not at all. They happen right in the middle of the deal.
The wobble.
The wobble.
That terrifying moment where the inspection report comes back, the buyer wants a $10,000 credit, the seller is completely insulted, egos are flaring, and the whole deal is just about to fall apart.
And the wobble is where an agent's true value becomes undeniable. I mean, think about what is happening mechanically during a tense negotiation.
Okay.
You have two parties with competing financial interests and heavily heightened emotions. The skill of negotiating is the ability to strip away the ego, identify the underlying needs of both sides, and find that invisible path to a yes that keeps the deal together.
It requires immense emotional regulation. You basically have to be the calmest person in the room when everyone else is panicking.
Precisely. You are the shock absorber for the transaction.
So you've absorbed the shock, you've handled the objections, you negotiated the wobble.
You did it.
The deal is struck, the closing documents are signed, the meal, to return to our kitchen analogy, has been served.
Bon appetit.
But a true master chef isn't looking for someone who eats at their restaurant once and then just never comes back. They want lifelong patrons.
Absolutely.
So how do we turn a closed deal into a sustainable, decades-long career? That brings us to our final phase, which we call the legacy loop. And the foundational skills here are servicing sellers and working with buyers.
Right, because an amateur thinks the job is done when the contract is signed.
They cash the check and run.
Yeah, but the master knows the real work has just begun. Exceptional servicing is about preemptive communication. It is managing the entire ecosystem of the transaction, the lenders, the inspectors, the attorneys, so the client doesn't have to.
Because you have to remember, for the client, this isn't just moving boxes.
Right.
It is uprooting their entire life. It is highly disruptive and emotionally taxing. So what does exceptional service actually look like mechanically? It means calling the seller on a Friday afternoon just to say, hey, everything is on track, have a great weekend, so they don't spend Saturday and Sunday stressing out over silence.
That silence is brutal for clients.
It is. It means anticipating the roadblocks before the buyer even sees them.
And that level of proactive care raises an important point about the mindset behind servicing. Why do we go to such lengths?
Right. Why bother?
Because a real estate transaction is not a singular event. Every buyer you guide today is a future seller 5 or 10 years down the line.
Oh, so they aren't just a transaction. They are literally a node in a future network.
That is exactly the right way to visualize it. When you provide an undeniably superior experience, you transform a one-time client into a lifelong, really vocal advocate.
They do the marketing for you.
They do. They become a self-sustaining referral engine. That is how you build a legacy business that thrives without you constantly having to buy new leads. You cultivate the relationships you already have.
So what does this all mean? We have laid out the 10 mother sauces.
Mm-hmm.
Attitude, time management, prospecting, farming, self-promotion, listing appointments, objection handling, negotiating, servicing sellers, and working with buyers. I want to share a quote from Darryl that brings this all into focus. He says, "You cannot experiment until you have mastered the basics. And once you do, the possibilities are endless."
I love that quote. The beauty of these foundational skills isn't just the successful transactions they inevitably produce.
Right.
It is the philosophy they represent. They demand a commitment to true mastery. They require the humility to go back to the basic ingredients before reaching for a shortcut.
And that brings us right back to you listening to this deep dive. You are a learner. You are inherently curious, which is why you're here with us. But we live in a culture that is constantly shouting at you to do more, be more, and, chase the next big disruption.
It's relentless.
It is. The ultimate takeaway here is that the most powerful, disruptive thing you can actually do is slow down. Get grounded. Own your fundamentals. Sustainable success is never built on hacks or shortcuts. It is built on a foundation so solid that a shifting economy, a new algorithm, or an emerging technology simply cannot shake it. When you master your own mother sauces, you don't just become successful, you become unstoppable.
The mechanics of mastery never really change, but I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on the framework we've explored today.
Let's hear it.
We know that in cooking, all complex sauces trace back to just 5. We just outlined the 10 core foundations for real estate. But if these 10 are the mother sauces, what is the hidden water or the hidden heat beneath them?
Oh, wow.
Right. If you had to distill these 10 skills down even further to just one universal meta skill that makes every single one of them possible, what would it be? Is it profound empathy? Is it unyielding discipline? We invite you to look at your own profession today, whatever field you are in, and ask yourself, what is the one single foundational ingredient you're completely ignoring while you waste your time chasing the latest seasoning?